Welcome to The Glitter Effect, a podcast dedicated to shining a light on the movers, shakers, change makers, and all-round living legends of our communities who are making a real difference. Today, I'm honoured to welcome an extraordinary change maker, Nic Marchesi, who is one of the co-founders of Orange Sky. Orange Sky is the world's first free mobile laundry and now shower service for people experiencing homelessness. The idea was born from a garage in Brisbane and a wild belief that dignity can be restored with clean clothes and a conversation. What began as two 20-year-old mates loading washing machines into a van called Sudsie has blossomed into a movement that restores dignity, connection, and trust across communities. Nic and Lucas didn't just start a service, they sparked a wave of human connection and compassion that continues all around us. So today, we'll explore the journey from that first conversation while the wash spun in Sudsie to building a network that now offers clean washes, warm showers, and safe spaces for genuine, non-judgmental conversation. Nic Marchesi, welcome to The Glitter Effect.
Hey, Fran. Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you. It's so good to you've taken some time out of your busy schedule. I know you are all over the place. So we're going to dive straight in and ask you to just take us back to the very beginning, because I'm sure there's a few of our listeners that have no idea what incredible things you've been doing. What was the moment that inspired you both to put a washing machine in the back of a van and start what has now become Orange Sky?
Yeah, Lucas and I went to school together in Brisbane, and our school had a food van that went out and fed people in our backyard that didn't have access to things that we had taken for granted, things like something to eat, someone to talk to, but most importantly, this idea of dignity. And so leaving high school, Lucas was at the top of the class. I was somewhere very much closer to the bottom. And we sort of missed this opportunity to give back to the community. So the idea was born to start Orange Sky, or back then we didn't really know what it was going to be called, but start this thing where we would go out and improve the hygiene standards of people that were living rough. So the idea was to get some serious washing machines, put them in a van, and like you said, that first van's name was Sudsie, and hit the streets of Brisbane. And we learnt a lot back 11 years ago, being at the age of 19. I love sharing the story that, I came home and I told my parents, like, Mum, Dad, Lucas and I are going to start a free mobile laundry. And my parents said, how about you start washing your own clothes? So we knew very little about washing and drying clothes, and we knew very little about running a charity. But we had a passion for wanting to see what would happen. And like I mentioned, our first mission statement was around improving hygiene, improving dignity. And once we got this frustrating van to work, it took us 3 attempts and 3 mornings of letting a guy by the name of Jordan down. When the van finally worked, we realised that Orange Sky had very little to do with washing and drying clothes, because the biggest impact we'd have is while the washing was done, an opportunity to sit down and have a chat. And now Orange Sky's turning 11 this year. We've now got over 50 services in Australia.
Wow.
We service nearly 400 locations at the same time, same place every week. We've got thousands of volunteers that run our service, but it still comes back to that really simple thing of positively connecting communities through bringing people access to important things like laundry and showers, but most importantly, sitting down and having a chat while the washing's on.
Amazing. It sounds such a simple concept, but there's so much more in it to get to this point. I appreciate that, Nic. But at 19, how did you start it up with funding and everything? Was it literally just a beg, borrow and see who can help you, or were you knocking on doors, or how did that go?
Yeah, it's, Orange Sky is now a multi-million-dollar charity. And like I said, we've got, nearly 60 assets out on the road each week, and, heaps of staff. And it's, and this beautiful tree, like I mentioned, we now have 50 services operating in 50 locations around the country. And so that tree has, 50 branches with leaves and volunteers and donors watering it. But Lucas and I sort of just planted that little seed and, gave it some nurturing and love. And I guess back then we were 19, we didn't have families, we didn't have mortgages, and we really just wanted to give back to the community. So, I owned the old van. Lucas and I sort of, after a few weekends, managed to find a way to convince this washing machine company to give us some washing machines. And,
Brilliant.
we're sort of funding the whole project out ourselves those days. But the seedling was quite small and didn't need too much water.
And we're chopping around, we're going off script already. At what point did you realize that, because you wouldn't have anticipated this would go national when you first started out, presumably. At what point did you go, this has legs, this is going to be bigger than just where we are in Brisbane?
Yeah, I think, the biggest privilege of my life, and I think one of the biggest things that Orange Sky's ever been able to achieve is people trusting us. And I think that was the aha moment for us is, the first morning we took the van out, we let a guy by the name of Jordan down. He trusted these two guys to wash and dry his clothes. We put his washing in the machine and the washers broke. And we rocked up the next day, and for whatever reason, Jordan was going to trust these two idiots to wash and dry his clothes. And we put Jordan's washing in the same machine, and the exact same thing happened. We let Jordan down. And so that third morning, we made a few changes, put Jordan's washing in the machine, and it worked perfectly. And so that was a big aha moment for us, was here is someone at potentially the toughest time of their life who's trusting us to provide a service, but most importantly, an opportunity to connect. And I think that then has spiraled. I always talk about, we were two 19-year-olds with this van. Then we both had other jobs. And then so people were like, I'll go and take the van out. And so then we had our first volunteers of friends and family that has now grown to thousands of volunteers that are out each and every week. And then, we had, clubs offering to make more donations. And we had a lady by the name of Carol who messaged us on social media, and she said, when Orange Sky becomes a charity, let me know, because I'd love to come out and see the service. And we got our charitable status maybe 8 months down the road of our first wash. And Lucas reached out to Carol, and she came down, and she hung out on the shift the whole time, and she said, what's next for Orange Sky? And we said, well, we want to build another van. And she said, oh, well, how much does another van cost? And when you're 19, you can do absolutely anything with $100,000. So Lucas and I were like, $100,000. And, Carol wrote a check for $100,000 and said, go and build the next van. So I guess, now that commitment from, people isn't just maybe in these early days, it was maybe 10 or 15 of our closest friends and family and supporters, is now this remarkable community of people, whether that be 1,000 friends every week like Jordan trust us to wash and dry their clothes or provide a shower, or whether it be thousands of volunteers that are like our first ever parents who went out and drove the van, or thousands of donors that fund the Orange Sky operation.
That's amazing. I mean, and also you've just touched on it there. So it's very clear Orange Sky from the outset is way more than having clean clothes and warm showers. So why do you think restoring dignity is such a powerful catalyst for connection? Because clearly this is what it's about. It's the connection, as you just touched on.
Yeah, I think, when we started, we were trying to do something that was very practical around hygiene, and that's incredibly important to people's confidence and health and dignity. But then what we realized is that loneliness and isolation and disconnection is prevalent in all our communities. And, it's easy to see Orange Sky as a volunteer going out and serving someone on the streets. But what we actually realized is that we're all humans, and I've been out volunteering, having some really tough days, and friends have supported me, or, volunteers and friends talk about their favorite football teams and they realize they're the same football team. So I think there is this, really simple but lost reminder that as humans, we heal together and we get sick alone. And that's really what Orange Sky does in its simplest form, is that we create a campfire that has, washing machines and complexity in it, but that people come around that campfire and hang out. And it gives people permission to get to know each other.
That's lovely. And where did the name Orange Sky come from?
Yeah, so around that same sort of kitchen table, we started Orange Sky. We sort of thought, could we call this Brisbane laundry van? And Lucas said, well, what happens if we have a van outside of Brisbane? And, that wasn't on ever our
Clever.
wildest dreams, was to have more than one van. But we sort of really liked Orange Sky as the name of a song. The song's called Orange Sky, and the singer-songwriter Lexi Murdoch talks about everyone being underneath an orange sky and helping out your brothers and sisters. And,
Yep.
Back in 2014, we really loved the name, still love the name, really love the song. We still love the song, and we chucked it on our first van, and we haven't been sued.
Excellent. Oh, that's great. And obviously starting something like this, as we know, is never easy. There's peaks and there's troughs. What have been some of the biggest hurdles that you faced, but what has kept you going as well in the same vein?
Yeah, one of our first ever team members pulled us up. We used to have as a part of our values being positive and non-judgmental. And Emily sort of said to us, why do you have this word positive when there's a lot of darkness or a lot of challenge and hardship in the worlds that we work in, specifically in the worlds that Orange Sky operates in? And it was a really good reminder that by us sort of just talking about positivity was not shining a light on this whole segment of life, which is real and it's tough. And so, that was a really interesting moment for us to actually take that value into our organisation, is that, we are working with people in potentially the toughest times of their life. We've had to operate a service that's around hygiene and human connection during a pandemic where hygiene and human connection was taken away from most of the world. We're putting washing machines in a van. We're trying to get volunteers to drive vans, and so there's a lot of complexity in what we do. And so I think the biggest thing we do is really embrace that. Yes, challenge is a part of what we do, but also we have a remarkable privilege to show up. And through most of the challenges at Orange Sky, if not all of them, they've been solved through our mission of having a conversation and bringing people together. And whether that be, friends coming up with the most incredible innovations out in our shifts, whether it be our remarkable team that are able to listen and support in ways that we could only ever imagine if it was people like Carol making donations. I think that, that's the beauty of Orange Sky, is that Orange Sky isn't Nic and Lucas. It's people who come together from all walks of life to do something that's greater than all of us. And that's the beauty of what we're a part of.
So pure. I love it. It's incredible what you've done. And you're reaching thousands of people across Australia each week, I'm assuming. How do you firstly decide on locations to do this? And secondly, how do you measure the impact of those locations to know it's sustainable or what you need there?
Yeah, so Orange Sky at every location, we run also 400 shifts every week around Australia and New Zealand. That looks like either a van that's got 2 washing machines and 2 dryers in it, might be a van that's got 2 washers, 2 dryers and a shower on board, or it might actually be inside a laundromat in a small regional area or inside a shipping container. And so a group of incredible volunteers will go down to that asset, unlock it, it'll welcome regular or new friends to the service. We will take their just their name, which can be any name they come up with. We then work with them to put the washing in, wash it, and all of those wash numbers and impact numbers are recorded. And that's really important to us in making sure that, we are making the most impact we can in our regions. Unfortunately, when Orange Sky started, it's like, we need a van in Sydney and Melbourne and Hobart. So then very quickly we had a van in every, capital city and in Australia, or every large town. But now something that I'm really proud of is that Orange Sky is showing up in more remote and regional communities. A third of Orange Sky services operate in some of the most remote parts of Australia, whether that be in places like Arnhem Land in Maningrida or in Arakoon in Cape York in Queensland, or whether it be in smaller regional areas. A bit of an inside scoop: on the 26th of September, we're launching our 51st service in Orange. So Orange Sky is finally operating in Orange. And so those smaller regional towns, whether it be Ballarat or Bendigo or Castlemaine or these smaller towns that haven't had access to Orange Sky, we're now able to support them through that service.
So when you say you've got that at a new location, for example, is that someone on the ground saying we need that and we can find the people to help run it? Or do you still have to do that from where you're located? Is it or is it just solely reliant on a team effort on the ground?
So every Orange Sky service is run by volunteers, but what's really important to our service is co-location and back to that mission of positive connection. So at every location, we're working with another extraordinary service provider. So in Orange, we're working with the Orange Uniting Church, and so we'll
Right.
co-locate our service with their work, well, whether that be a drop-in centre, or a shelter, or a health service provider, or a school. We
Mm.
sort of complement the amazing work they do in supporting that community, and we
Yep.
sort of add our small piece of the puzzle to that. And then those volunteers go and run the service, and then Orange Sky has a support centre that supports those volunteers, whether that be through fundraising or keeping the vans on the road or choosing those new locations or looking at how can we be more strategic with what we're doing.
Mm. And so you've got how many volunteers did you say you've got altogether, roughly?
So we've got about 4,000 active volunteers out each week.
Yeah.
Sorry, each in our roster, but about sort of over 1,000 volunteers out each and every week.
So we know in this space it's really hard running volunteer organizations because they're volunteers, they've got other things going on. So how have you built and sustained a community of people who are willing to give their time and energy to your mission? And I'm assuming as well you've got real stalwarts as well. Once they get in their foot in the door, they stay.
Volunteers are key to running Orange Sky, and I think we could never afford to pay those people that were going out every week. But I think also the reason why people volunteer is that they have an active desire to contribute or believe in what we're doing. So Orange Sky is run by volunteers from all walks of life, whether that be a retired doctor or a school teacher. Over 10% of Orange Sky volunteers have experienced homelessness or hardship in their life. But
Mm.
what we really find is that volunteers too are lonely and isolated and disconnected. So an opportunity to go out and connect with their community has a massive impact on their life. We've got volunteers that have volunteered for nearly as long as Orange Sky's been around in their region, and we've got
Yeah.
volunteers that might be their first ever shift. A factor that really blows my mind is that the majority of Orange Sky services run on a Friday evening, and I can remember when we started, being like young 20-year-olds, we're like, no one will ever volunteer on a
Yeah.
Friday night. And, that is one of our more popular times or our most popular time in our asset mix. And I think that's a reminder that, volunteers, Friday night might be the worst night of their week. They might be at home, they might be alone, they might be trying to be more specific with their choices and their behaviors. So an opportunity
Mm.
to go out from there in community, give back,
Yeah.
have some awesome conversations is super special.
That's good. That's great. Gosh, you sound like for young people starting this, that you're doing way more than some organizations are doing. I think a lot of people could learn a lot from you too. So you started with one van and now you're operating across multiple locations, as you said, with various services. What surprised you most about the growth of Orange Sky? Because it's really grown quite large in a very short space of time, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think what I'm always blown away with is the power of human potential, and whether that be in a positive or a negative way. Orange Sky is a reflection of people from all walks of life coming together and believing in this movement, and whether that be people believing to donate to us, or believing to volunteer, or
Mm.
believing or trusting us to wash potentially their most prized possessions in their life. And I think
Yeah.
we as a world are becoming more disconnected. So it is sobering to see where Orange Sky has been able to have such a big impact is where people in our own backyards don't have access to these really basic human rights.
Yeah.
But also, I think on the flip side of that, what I've been really proud of is that there's so many people that believe in it and support it, and that's the only reason why it operates.
Yeah, that's great. Really good points. So what's your vision for Orange Sky over the next sort of 5 years, 10 years even?
Yeah, what we're really passionate about at Orange Sky is connecting people, and there's some tangible things that are exciting. Like I said, a third of Orange Sky services are operating in some of the most remote communities in Australia. We are now showing up more in schools. Young people 15 to 25 is the highest rate of emerging homelessness. So we're seeing Orange Sky
Mm.
operate in schools, and I already struggled enough going to school, let alone the idea of not having a clean uniform or not having
Mm.
a safe night's sleep or couch surfing. So, Orange Sky's showing up in a lot of schools. We're trying to really shine a light on demystifying a lot of stereotypes and stigmas that are around homelessness and hardship. You know, the conversation about homelessness and hardship in Australia is, in our view, not reflective of what we're seeing on the streets, and so an opportunity to start to talk about, you know, homelessness isn't just the 6% of rough sleepers. It's people in overcrowded dwellings or people in temporary or emergency accommodation. The majority of people at Orange Sky Help are working multiple jobs. We're seeing a lot of young people or families living in their cars who, you know, go to work or drop their kids to school, but then reside back in that space. So, you know, I think there's a lot of, you know, exciting potential for Orange Sky in the future. Again, we have to hold that with a reminder that we're in the business of bringing people together and connecting. And as a society, we know how important that is, but we are continually not doing that very well. And so how do we keep finding really simple ways for people to come and connect will be it. So, you know, we might build more laundromats, or we might, you know, show up in more schools, or we might find some new fancy ways to deliver our service. But I think what it'll come back to is bringing people together from all walks of life.
Yeah. And do you get any funding, government funding, or are you purely funded through the generosity of the public and people you come across?
Yeah, the majority, if not all, most years is supported by everyday people, whether it be a philanthropist, whether it be a corporate, whether it be, you know, a school doing our Sudsie challenge, which is around wearing the same clothes for 3 days.
Oh, really?
We've seen pockets of, you know, government funding from a health perspective around operating in remote communities, or, you know, supporting us with some capital infrastructure. But the majority of Orange Sky's funding is from everyday people from all walks of life.
And I love how you're using this opportunity as well to shift the narrative as well with homelessness as well, and just sort of giving that human side that people often forget, I think, which is great. I think you're doing, as I said, you're doing an incredible job. Now onto a little bit more lighthearted. We're called the glitter effect because I'm a firm believer that everyone has their own little store of glitter that they sprinkle with purpose and heart, which you and Lucas are doing extraordinarily well. But to get to this point, there's always glitter kings and queens that have inspired, I assume inspired you and you both. Who has inspired you to shine and shape who you are and where you are today, and the impact of the journey that you're on now?
Yeah, I think there's, you know, so many people, and whether it be, you know, our extraordinary parents who gave us an incredible upbringing and gave us, you know, a sense of or gave us privilege and agency. Where I always talk about the first time I was in the principal's office, I told my mum that I wanted a drill, and mum went and bought me a drill, and then I took that drill to school because I wanted to show everyone how many screws I could put in. And then, you know, mum and I got called to the principal's office for having a drill. So, you know, my parents had a remarkable impact in supporting, you know, my ideas, and whether they be, you know, crazy ideas like putting washing machines in the van or wanting to do something, they're absolutely the glitter for that. I think the beauty of having a co-founder is the opportunity to do stuff together. And, you know, Lucas and I went to school together. We started this project from day one, and Lucas is now, you know, in charge of Orange Sky, and I'm still lucky to call him a dear friend. So I think, you know, there's so many people along the way, whether it be our first friend Jordan. We tracked down Jordan, our first ever watch, and made our own little Orange Sky podcast called The F Word last year, and we were able to sort of talk to our first ever friend. But I think, you know, as an organisation that's about people, there's so many people that have shaped all that glitter.
Yeah, beautiful. Keep spreading that glitter, Nic. And if people want to find out more about Orange Sky, if they want to donate or they want to get involved or find out if even they have a need for it in their local area, where's the best place that they can go?
Yeah, we encourage you to jump onto our website, orangesky.org.au. You can find out where your nearest shift is to get access to showers, laundry, and conversations. You can register to volunteer. You don't need to be a washing expert. You just need to have a little bit of time and a zest for wanting to help people in the community, or you can you know, read more about the people we help, or make a donation all on our website.
Amazing. And presumably you're on socials too? Have you got...
We sure are. Orange Sky recently launched a TikTok channel. I don't have TikTok, so I don't know what our handle is, if that's what you call it on TikTok. But Orange Sky Australia and Orange Sky Aotearoa over in New Zealand, you can follow all of us on socials.
Amazing. Nic, thank you so much for joining me on The Glitter Effect today and sharing your incredible story. You've just reminded us all that real change often begins with the simplest acts. Through Orange Sky, you are leaving behind a glitter trail of empathy, belonging, and transformation, one conversation, one wash, one shower at a time. Thank you for your boldness, your creativity, and most of all, for building a space where people doing it tough can feel seen, heard, and valued. Your glitter trail is one that we all follow with hope and gratitude. And when we share stories like yours, we'll keep the glitter effect alive, spreading light, hope, and connection far beyond ourselves. I wish you and Lucas all the very best with what is next in your exciting journey with Orange Sky. And I thank you so much for joining me today. Take care.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining me, Kate Ganneil, on The Glitter Effect. If you've loved this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep showing up, making an impact, and sprinkling that glitter wherever you go. Bye for now.